right. Okay. It's a great morning. It's a good morning, and I am happy that you are creating more time for us here on KUTV Rise today to begin your day, in fact. And it's lovely, of course, to accompany me all the way to the end of the show, and also to be the voice to your ears this morning in the face on your television stations. This is KUTV Kenya. Rise Today is a program that you're watching, and this particular one is Biashara Tuesday, the edition where we get to have a look at matters of business, the economy, and what else is affecting those two aspects, those two very important aspects that inform how we do make our livelihoods. Yesterday, Azimio mass actions hit week 2, the second day of this protest all across the country and in major strongholds of opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga. Over in Nairobi County, it was Azimio's Raila Odinga versus police roadblocks in major and strategic positions as police officers were waiting upon an entourage of supporters that were led by Azimio Chief Raila Odinga and other co-principals from the Azimio side, who are now protesting against the government of the day led by His Excellency President William Ruto. And they are decrying several issues, protests which are against election fraud that was witnessed, or that they say they witnessed last year, 2022, in the August polls, the high cost of living, the subversion of our democracy. In Kisumu County, it was peaceful protest when it began, with Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o leading the people of Kisumu in a march from Kondele all the way going to the Kisumu City CBD. However, reports that reach our news desk show that at least one person was shot dead in those protests over in Kisumu County. Several were injured, minor injuries sustained, of course, in major places in Kisumu, Migori, Siaya, and Nairobi, and others that we shall be receiving information as of this morning. So that is what happened yesterday as Azimio took to day 2, or to the second week of protest. Destruction of property was also witnessed in properties and businesses which are allied or which belong to former President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Over in Northlands, which is just adjacent to KUTV stations, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is believed to be the owner of that property, which numbers to hundreds of acres, goons broke into this farmland, broke down the fence, cut down the trees, and made away with cattle. If you thought Kamakis is a place where you only get roast meat, you could also get live meat yesterday, as videos of protesters making away with hundreds, if tens to hundreds, of sheep and cattle belonging to that Northlands farm, which is allied to former President Uhuru Kenyatta. In Nairobi, Spectre, which is a gas production company that belongs to Raila Odinga, also received guests in the form of goons who pelted stones at the windows and also orchestrated destruction of property. And this comes a few days after Majority Leader of the National Assembly, Kimani Ichung'wah, in a statement where the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was present, said that he will, or that for those people, unnamed persons, which he is yet to provide a list of, that are putting this country on a standstill. He said that protesters or people who have not yet been able to realize the profits of this nation will break into these properties and allocate themselves pieces of land, which is a spectacle we saw yesterday. Whether these terms are connected to the events of yesterday is something that we are yet to confirm. Of course, we'll be waiting for the authorities to do their due investigations and provide us with the necessary information. Yesterday as well, unfortunately, members of the Fourth Estate, that is journalists, were hurt, arrested, threatened, and even their footage deleted. International and local news reporters and, of course, their camera crew met with protesters who either pelted stones at them or with police officers who lobbed tear gas at them. Some of them were, in fact, arrested alongside some of those protesters. And in a statement from the Media Council of Kenya, which I will be reading in part, that is condemning, of course, those actions by protesters and as well by police officers. This is a statement by the Chief Executive Officer and the Secretary to the Council, that is the Media Council of Kenya. In part, it reads that demonstrators attacking the media demean the spirit of mass action. and it betrays the foundations of democracy on which it is founded. Organizing mass action, which starts by attacking the media, is defeatist and dangerous to democratic values. This is in part of the whole, of course, statement which I'll be tweeting on my timeline from the Media Council of Kenya that is, of course, condemning those attacks and self-defeating measures which are threatening democracy. The interpretation of the law is also another bone of contention in these mass actions which are being witnessed, of course, from the opposition towards the government of the day, and several issues are being tabled or are being addressed in these streets. And this is after, of course, Azimio tried to defend their win, or their supposed win, over at the Supreme Court, and this case was dismissed, as we did see last year, and the Supreme Court verified that indeed President William Ruto won the elections of 2022 free and fair. However, now with the petitions and demonstrations, Article 37 of the Constitution guarantees that every person has the right to peaceably and unarmed assemble, demonstrate, picket, and present petitions to public authorities. The High Court of Kenya has declined or has refused to stop Azimio mass protest, where Justice Ongundi says it is not for the court to force police to ensure peaceful processions and assembly. The CS Interior, Kithure Kindiki, now wants demonstrators to take responsibility for cleanup costs and responsibility for and payment of damages to those harmed by their activities. In a proposed change of laws that is now being taken to Parliament, Kindiki as of now said it's not practical for police officers to allow masses to roam the streets and neighborhoods of their choices unarmed. From the opposition's side, they did, of course, issue a notice to the government and to the police agencies to provide the demonstrators with protection and adequate security to ensure that no property is destroyed and none of the demonstrators or bystanders or normal Kenyans are hurt in the process. This interpretation of the law is something that, of course, is going to be a conversation in the few coming days, and we'll be following it up to see where exactly does the buck stop. The IG of Police, Japhet Koome, says that it stops with him. Is it permission that is to be requested from police officers for the demonstrations to take place, or is it information and notice that is provided to NPS so that they provide security? Is it permission, or is it a notice that is provided? The interpretation of the law, Article 37, a bone of contention that we'll be seeing in the coming few days. Martha Koome took to her Twitter account yesterday evening, and I'll be reading part of her statements in what she was reacting to, of course, in that interpretation. Here, just to read three of those tweets real quick. IG Koome, the tough-talking police chief who deploys police to block and tear gas lawful demonstrations but sits idle while hired goons invade and destroy private property of a retired president and commander-in-chief. NPS leadership is behaving as if the constitution has been suspended. They must be reminded that each person bears the responsibility or the personal responsibility for their acts for omissions. It's up to NPS to demonstrate to Kenyans whether they maintain law and order or countenance goons to cause destruction and injury. Celebrating the violations of the rights of others is laying a foundation for the violation of your rights. NPS is Kibra being punished for welcoming Raila Odinga today and having peaceful processions. We'll be reading statements and reactions from various Kenyans and, of course, leaders who've issued statements and various reactions to the events of yesterday, from the mass actions to goons, of course, as well to the reactions of police officers and the government of the day to those mass actions which are organized by Azimio. But are their concerns valid, or are we demonstrating with people who are with us during the day but later on are in State House behind closed doors and meetings only for their own benefit? Are we setting ourselves up for more failure in the future? If our problem right now is unemployment, the high cost of living, and people are all in the streets, of course, as issued and as guaranteed by the Constitution, Are we setting up ourselves for further unemployment and further crime in the future, given that these people who are participating in these demonstrations and picketing are not looking for any work at the moment, and therefore cannot guarantee work in the future or employment as a new measure towards averting that high cost of living and crisis that is facing all economic centers of the world, but also majorly this third world economy that we're currently in. Here, another tweet that I saw from Laban Shaban. Laban Shaban is a member of the Fourth Estate here at KUTV. He says, maandamano hapa, fujo pale, njaa kule, wizi hapa, vita pale, moto hapa, hofu pale, vifo kule, starehe ikulu. Haina maana kabisa. More of this will be coming to you on the newspaper review section. Of course, developments of yesterday and up to leading this morning. We'll be reacting to them on the newspaper review. So grab yourself a copy of the Daily. I'll be joined here by an interesting lady to have a conversation. Grace Osinde is an AFEC ambassador in Kenya and the founder of Street Uproot Kenya and a human rights defender. She'll be with me here a bit later to have a discussion on the headlines of the day and also to react on some of the issues that are happening in the economy. Kenya's middle-class households and small commercial power consumers will from this week spend at least 2 billion more in trying to revive a parastatal or a business that is dying, that is KPLC. And this is after KPLC has been taking a hit in losses in months and years, in fact, and now electricity tariffs that was scrapped this year, or according to the Kenya Kwanza government, electricity tariffs which have to be scrapped, and amongst other tariffs, the Energy and Petroleum Authority, or the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, on Friday approved new tariffs which will be protecting Kenya Power from financial distress hitting the middle class, and this is those who consume between 31 units and above, with the steepest jump in prices alongside small commercial consumer. We'll be looking at those figures as well, even as another parastatal, which is Kenya Airways. This is a loss-making machine and for years has not been able to realize a turnaround. And according to the figures that I have here with me, Kenya Airways more than doubled its losses, and this is leading to as from the previous year, which stood at 15.9 billion in losses, and this has more than doubled to 38 billion in losses. So the airline is more than doubling its full year loss to 38 billion in its loss-making streak. What will the government be doing to make this turnaround? There was talk of having a collaboration or having a partnership with the South African Airlines, and we'll be looking at that development and seeing if there's any progress that is being made in that regard. Those are the conversations in business and economy that we'll be having here this morning. But remember as well, there are guests who are always joining me here on set to have a look at what is developing and what we can keep a tab on in terms of business and also in terms of education, technology, and everything that is in there in between. The African Council for Distance Education has objectives that it needs to deliver in matters of education, open and distance learning. We're having a conversation on that to look at the specific initiatives that have been put in place to ensure there's collaboration within member institutions and higher institutions of learning all across Africa, and how, of course, what criteria they are using to assess the quality of education and training that is being offered for open and distance learning. Are institutions of higher learning meeting the required standards which are being set during this assessment, and how can we speak of e-learning in Africa in a time where digitization is quite the thing to go, and also the future looking like everything, the overall landscape of education in Africa is supposed to be going online and catching up with the rest of the world. After that, we'll be following up this conversation with an opportunity that is here on the Kenya Open Chess Championships of 2023. Brian Kidula is founder and chairman for that, and also part of the International Chess Federation. He'll be with me here to speak about that Open Chess Championship that is happening next month in April and is open to veterans, to young ones, to upcomers, to beginners. If you're someone with a keen interest in chess, this is the opportunity for you. So tune in for that and know exactly where you can be plugging yourself in, and also how to participate and register for that. Those are a few of the many things that we'll be looking at here. Remember, we also have the news updates coming to you. If you missed out anything yesterday in the bulletin, we have it here for you this morning on KUTV News Updates on Rise Today. So tune in for that, as also take a look at the roads, inform you on the alternative routes to use as you head out to work. Business resumes today. There was a standstill in business and transport yesterday, but today I think normalcy has returned in major parts of the country, Nairobi CBD being the key and the most affected by those mass actions by Azimio yesterday. So if you're heading out to work, to business, please inform me how the roads are looking like, if business is back, and also your reactions, of course, from the mass action protests that were organized yesterday and are expected to continue on Thursday, that is 2 days from now, when Azimio leader Raila Odinga will be taking back to the streets to address the Kenya Kwanza government. Welcome to Biashara Tuesday. Interact with us across all social platforms. We are at KUTV_Kenya. My handle is also Richard_OKENYE. Welcome to the show. Let's kick it off. So, are these Azimio protests, Azimio-led protests, or are they protests by Mwananchi? These issues which are being raised by Azimio leader and of course its whole opposition side resonate very well with Mwananchi, and we cannot dismiss the validity of these concerns which are being raised. However, we are asking whether this is, of course, the right actions. Are these valid concern, or is there a political play to what we are witnessing every single Monday and will be hopefully, or we'll expect to see on Thursday as well? Let's have a look at Mathri route as you contemplate on that and give me your reaction. We are taking a look at what is happening on those roads to see and to inform us of current traffic conditions and how you can proceed with work. If you're on Thika Road, remember everything is smooth as always when you're coming from Thika and to town. But if you're getting to the Koja roundabout, it seems that everyone is back to work. So on that Globe roundabout, you can expect a lot of traffic as you're going into town. I'm informed that Westlands today looks very fine. If you're approaching town on Wayaki Way, kunakaa vizuri, but you can also try and use the expressway. Others on Gong Road yesterday, where mass action was heavily experienced, it's back to normal, but police presence is also seen on the ground, trying to move the debris of protesters who are pelting stones, and of course the chaos that would witness there. Businesses are open in the CBD from information I'm getting here from Gisheru Mamba. Malala Sheri saying that well, I can see there's traffic, but say me where exactly that is, but I'd love to know. More updates from Mathri route. When it comes to Jogoo Road, bwana, kunakuanga kumeshikana sana. Traffic ni live huku. Lexi Boychild anasema hivyo. Can traffic police also open up hapo Pangani? Traffic on Thika Road Highway and service lane is now standstill. It's never like this. All right, I'd love to know where as early where on the road it starts from. Nimetoka kwa nyumba 6:30 na ile traffic iko huku Thika Road. My God, Njokes Mungai pale Nairobi is cautiously coming back to life, so people are approaching the CBD with caution. Good morning, how are the roads? Big ship anauliza. That's as much as we have received. KCA University on your way to town, it's bumper to bumper, but it's also slowly moving. A tanker that's carrying petrol just overturned somewhere 5 hours ago, however, and this is at the Chimo flyover. I'd love to know where Chimo flyover is. People have started to siphon petrol. Beware, there are motorists there, so approach that place with caution. Explain how you knew there were people who have been ferried from Githurai to Northlands. Hapa kuna mtu akona vital information. So if you have more information on that, we'll be digging into that a bit later in the newspaper review. Heavy gunfire, and this is from yesterday in Mathare North and in Kibra. So if there's any developments from the night, there are, of course, reports coming from Kibra, Northlands and Mathare as well, reported fires and incidences throughout the night, and this is after those protests that were witnessed during the day. How's Oyakiwe looking? I already said that it's looking good. It's smooth. If you want to use that, Siongok Dennis ako hapo on the ground, anasema it's looking fine. General weather conditions today, you can expect thunderstorms with a high of 26 degrees Celsius and a low of 16 degrees Celsius. Good morning and welcome to Biashara Tuesday. Remember to interact with us on the social platforms at KUTV. The SMS/WhatsApp numbers are also open for you. Tag us, send us a message, tell us where you're watching from. Your feedback is highly valued here. Use the hashtag Biashara Tuesday and tell me what your reactions are on the various developments in the world of politics and how you think that's going to affect business. Yesterday, business and transport came to a standstill. Small businesses, large businesses were affected, from shoe shiners to border business in the CBD and also major parts of the road where barricades were witnessed, and also running battles between the protesters and police officers. Big businesses, hotels, transportation, and others who were affected. Tell us if you're one of those who are affected, how do you plan to bounce back, and what do you think could happen on Thursday? How will the government approach this in a way that we're not losing more money and we're not witnessing more disruption to business in the economy? The African Council for Distance Education is a continental organization that is comprised of African university. It has 4 programs which are enhancing collaboration among member institutions. And we're going to have a look at what ACDE does, that is the African Council for Distance Education, and also to see what is going to happen during their trainer workshop that has already actually kick-started, and what you can expect will be the outcome of this. They have 15 higher institutions of learning from 7 countries: Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa. Here I'm seeing also Mauritius and Kenya. Previously, they were doing this, or since its inception in 2004, they're holding it over at Egerton, but now it's happening at Kenyatta University. So I'm pretty excited because we are within proximity of where this training workshop is going to happen. We're having that conversation here, and you should be tuning in. And if you have any question on open and distance learning, remember that COVID-19 did force all our operation, be it business, be it education, to go online and embrace digitization, open and distance learning being one of them. Dr. Teresa Moma is the executive director of that African Council for Distance Education. We're having that conversation in a short while. But a little teaser. The African Council for Distance Education Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency workshop has kicked off at Kenyatta University, as I said, bringing together lecturers from different institutions in Africa, including Nigeria, Ghana, and Mauritius, to get training on open distance e-learning. The theme being leveraging the quality of online digital e-learning in Africa through using the ACDE Quality Assurance Toolkit.
Kenyatta University will be on the forefront in providing training to lecturers in a 3-day event on online distance e-learning platform through the aid of African Council for Distance Education in partnership with online distance e-learning, with the training bringing together scholars from different African universities, including Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, and Mauritius.
In line with the university's vision and mission, one of the objectives of Kenyatta University is to promote the development and expansion of higher education opportunities through initiation of new programs and alternative modes of delivery using modern technology.
Additionally, according to Kenyatta University Vice Chancellor Professor Paul K. Wainaina, the ACDE workshop will have a cohort of champions who will ensure that higher quality standards are maintained while delivering online digital e-learning programs.
In tandem with the objective, the university has a strategic goal to enhance access to university education to meet the ever-increasing demands for higher education by strengthening the open distance and e-learning mode of delivery.
Executive Director, African Council for Distance Education, Dr. Teresa Mwoma, on her part, stated that the event will enable the participants to learn and share on quality and assurance of learning in ODEL.
I believe we are going to have exciting 3 days of interacting with each other, but also learning and sharing on how best we can use the ACD Quality Assurance Toolkit to enhance quality in ODEL in our institutions.
I want to say that because the NUC has the convening power, having to superintend 222 universities, we undertake to leverage on our convening power to ensure that the toolkit that ACD has painstakingly put together over the years, we will work in active commitment with ACDE to domesticate, as it were, and to ensure that our member institutions give quality using the toolkit, the loudest expression.
ACDE is a continental education organization comprising of African universities and other higher education institutions, which are committed to expanding access to quality education and training through open and distance learning. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
All right, welcome back once more. I think I need to read this comment by Laban Shaban. I didn't do it justice when I was doing an introduction to Biashara Tuesday, and this is his reaction. I had posited a question in my opener, and this was asking whether the concerns of Azimio leader Raila Odinga are valid. We saw an entourage, we saw supporters, so it means we cannot dismiss the validity, we cannot dismiss the success of this demonstration. A message has been sent. In the first day of the protests, DP Rigathi Gachagua said that 2 billion Kenyan shillings was lost from the economy as a result of a standstill of business for a couple of hours. How he came to these figures, I cannot tell. He's the man who wakes up at 5 in the morning to show up at work. However, can we dismiss it? Are we pawns in a grand chessboard that is being played between political kingpins? Laban Shaban says, maandamano hapa, fujo pale, njaa kule, wizi hapa, vita pale, moto hapa, hofu pale, vifo kule, starehe ikulu. Haina maana kabisa. I'll be getting your reactions on all social platforms at KUTV Kenya, at Richard_Okenye. The ACDE, that is the African Council for Distance Education, is here with me, and I'm having a conversation with the executive director, and she's here, that is Dr. Teresa Mwoma, to inform us of what higher education institutions have been doing and how committed they are in expanding access to quality education and training through open and distance learning, including e-learning. If you have any questions on e-learning, if you're an educator, if you're a student, this is a conversation that you want to listen into. Let's first of all welcome her to the show and also get to know what an executive director does at the African Council for Distance Education. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard, for giving me this opportunity to come and share with you what we do at the African Council for Distance Education. As you have rightfully said, my name is Dr. Teresa Mwoma. I'm the Executive Director, African Council for Distance Education. But more importantly, I'm a senior lecturer, Kenyatta University, in the Department of Early Childhood Education and Special Needs. And I'm seconded to the African Council for Distance Education. Your question of what does an executive director do, especially at the African Council for Distance Education. My work involves coordinating programs that are offered by the African Council for Distance Education, and some of these programs are hosted in our member institutions because African Council for Distance Education is a membership organization which is continental, and our focus is on education. And therefore, my work involves coordinating these programs that are hosted in different countries to ensure that they are running, and we are supporting our member institutions to be able to perform and also to deliver their programs.
Right. Yeah. Since its inception in 2000, and for this international education non-profit, that is ACDE, was hosted in Egerton University. And now it is in Kenyatta University, where training has already kick-started for this year, and we'll be getting to that in just a short while. Why was that shift to Kenyatta University, and how do you feel now that you're also a lecturer? I'm guessing it's really great news that this is within your university premises.
Yeah, just to let you know that when African Council for Distance Education was founded back in 2002 and then inaugurated in 2004, Egerton University hosted the secretariat since 2004 up to 2020, when the secretariat hosting was shifted to Kenyatta University. In terms of the training that you are talking about, this is only a 3 days training that we are conducting, but it is the hosting of Kenyatta of the secretariat, ACD secretariat, that was shifted to Kenyatta University. And even when it was at Egerton University, we had a former executive director, Professor Gidan from National Open University, Nigeria, heading it, and he was here in Kenya. Wow. So I'm excited that Kenyatta University is hosting the secretariat. We have gotten a lot of support from our Vice Chancellor, Professor Paul K. Wainaina, who has been very supportive, and by the way, who is our Secretary General. The ACD is governed by a board of management, chaired by our president, Professor Goski Alabi, and who is a consulting president for Ghana, Lawe Open University, Ghana.
All right.
Yes.
That's great. That's a wealth of support that you're receiving from higher institutions of learning, vice chancellors, and of course partner institutions. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic did affect a lot of business across sectors, from manufacturing to transportation, all the way to education. How did it specifically affect the delivery of education, and how has open and distance learning been able to address those challenges and also take measures, and this of course through the African Council for Distance Education?
Thank you so much. I want to start by saying that initially African Council for Distance Education was established to support universities that were offering open and distance learning. And some universities were having that as a whole university, but others as a section or a directorate. So we were to support those universities to deliver quality. But when COVID-19 came in, it helped us to learn more lessons that sometimes we can be locked down, institutions can be locked down, learning can come to a standstill, and many more institutions were struggling to find ways of ensuring that learning takes place. And that is how now African Council for Distance Education, or distance learning, became more visible in terms of that learning can happen remotely or virtually if learning has to continue. So in 2021, after COVID, or it was around during COVID, African Council for Distance Education, in collaboration with the Open University UK, conducted a study to try and understand decisions that were made by higher institutions of learning to ensure that learning takes place, the challenges they experienced. And this was a study that was conducted in 4 African universities: Kenyatta University, Lawe Open University, Ghana, National Open University, Nigeria, and the University of South Africa. So we were trying to understand what decisions were made, what challenges were experienced. We realized that universities were struggling to ensure, especially those that were offering their academic programs through the face-to-face, they really struggled because they didn't have avenues of trying to offer this. We also realized that universities didn't have policies around offering open and distance learning. And through the lessons we learned from there, we shared with our colleagues, because we also, from the study, tried to find out what are open universities that have been offering open and distance learning using to be able to deliver. So lessons learned from the good practices that were happening with the universities that were offering programs that time, we were able to document, share with our member institutions so that they can be able to see how best they can go around it.
Right.
Yes.
I'm loving that aspect of collaboration between member institutions, and it's something commendable that I think anyone else who's not already within the movement should be joining, and especially in the areas of research. Has there been other places that you can point out, or specific initiatives, including maybe student exchange that has happened?
Okay, even before I go to student exchange that has happened or other collaboration, also during COVID, that was 2020, African Council for Distance Education, in collaboration again with Open University Education, they came up with training modules where educators in secondary schools, in primary, and in universities went through modules that were enabling them to learn how to navigate or to deliver content through open and distance learning. And we had around 500 participants throughout the continent who participated in those modules, and that really helped to equip participants who were either lecturers teaching at the universities, in higher institutions of learning, and even in secondary schools, to be able to acquire the basic tools of trying to engage their students. Concerning student exchange, previously we have had our students from member institutions going to other universities. I remember, like, even before I joined the council, I remember there were a student exchange to a university in China, where students had an opportunity to go and learn from them, but also between universities. The ACD is the member institutions. We have 58 universities registered with us. Of course, not all of them are very active, but this gives a base where we have students moving from one institution to take courses in another institutions. A few weeks ago, our president, Professor Goski Alabi, and myself, we had a meeting with the Vice Chancellor UNICED, who has asked us to help them collaborate with other universities, where professors from other university can teach in or mentor young researchers in his university. So that is the kind of collaboration that we are talking about, and that is the kind of support that we give as a secretariat.
That's great. That's really commendable collaboration happening there. Now, I also I'm aware that the Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency is hosted by the National Open University of Nigeria. How does it contribute to the overall mission?
Very good. We have 4 focus areas. Number 1 is to ensure or to support our member institutions to maintain quality in their programs. Number 2 is to enhance collaboration, as we have said. Number 3 is to create forums for knowledge generation and dissemination, and also enhance advocacy. So in terms of quality assurance, through the Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency, which is hosted by National Open University of Nigeria, we came up with a toolkit that has standards that assess various areas of delivery through open maybe programs, your vision in terms of offering open and distance learning, the programs you are offering, how you develop content, how you deliver content, how do you prepare the members of academic staff to be able to deliver that content. So that is what the program has really supported. And like what we are doing now at Kenyatta University Conference Center, we have come up with a 3 days training workshop to train TOTs who will be training their member institutions on quality assurance, so that they can use the ACD Quality Assurance Toolkit first to have internal assessment to see are they meeting the standards. Then secondly, we will have peer review, where we will have external reviewers from within the ACD membership to go and assess and see whether they are meeting the standards, or there are areas they need to be supported to meet the standards. And that will lead to certification, to be certified that you are meeting the set standards to ensure that open and distance learning is happening as per the standards.
Right.
I also want to talk about maybe the Technical Committee on Collaboration, which is hosted by Open University of Tanzania. And this is the committee that is very critical when it comes to that kind of collaboration to happen between the universities. And then we have UNISA hosting the advocacy, knowledge dissemination, and